What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Monica. I do plenty of reactions on this channel, animations, TV series, movies, and sometimes music videos. So let's get to the gist of today's reaction. So if you've been watching me since I've done my Arcane reaction, you would know that I've always been commenting on the animation, on the storyline, on the writing, everything like that. I kept saying that the animation for this show is beyond spectacular, and I think it's time we take a closer look at the people behind the scenes who produce such high quality content for us viewers to watch. So today we will be watching Arcane Bridging the Rift Part 1, I Only Dream in Risky. I think I'm gonna learn so much from this, see behind the scenes of how these guys produce such high quality content. That would be so amazing because I've always thought, I've always wanted to know how they produce the animations. Like, I have a small amount of knowledge on that, but in such a thing like Arcane, it would be really interesting to see how they documented their process. Now let's start. I kind of realized that I have been wearing the same hat for most of my videos just because I felt comfortable with that black hat, so I decided to change it up a little bit. So when I had longer hair, this hat could not fit on my head no matter what I did, but since I have less hair now, it fits. A win for me, right? Anyway guys, let's get into this reaction. Let's go. Riot Games. When you're going to change the world, don't ask for permission. I know that's, yes, that is an Arcane code. Arcane Season 1, Episode 2. I'm going to change the world one day, either with my creations or my mental awesomeness. Expect me, world. Expect me. Let's go. Wow.
With League, the thing is that you play these characters over and over and over. Hundreds, in some cases, thousands of hours people sit with these characters. I'm actually just messing around in the jungler right now.
Where are you playing?
Mordekaiser. Because he's heavy metal. They're always in this one.
See, I don't know too much about the games, right? Never really played the games, but I really do enjoy the Arcane series, which gave me a lot of interest within the League of Legends world. So yeah.
Now, in this one environment, and you start to wonder, like, where do they sleep? What do they eat? What is their normal life like? Like, what kind of families would they have?
Man.
We knew Arcane was going to be the very first deep story expression of League of Legends. There's
Christian, showrunner, creator, writer. Wow. Wow. He looks very young to achieve this much at that age. Please, Lord, help me out.
Enough video games where the audience asked for a movie or a show for years and years and years, and then they make it, and then it sucks. And then guess what? People stop asking.
That is so true, man. If you don't put in that quality inside of something that people like let's say for any particular series, if you don't put in quality, then people stop asking, and then they get very disappointed. And they're like, no, don't do no remakes. No remakes.
We were afraid of that. We were like, if we make something that isn't at least good, then we're really, really harming the League IP.
I think so.
Right now, obviously, the phase. So, trying to wrap up Season 1.
This is Echo was
about here.
Just oh yeah, it was out here, right? I forgot. Here.
Which
She
what
will be the
software
worst
you're
kept
using?
secret of the show.
Everyone will know it's
Well-
Echo when they see him with the mask on. I mean,
You think?
yeah, of course.
In the trailer, I've seen like several videos.
I thought it was Echo when I saw him, but I didn't want to, put my mouth out there and get wrong, because that's the thing that usually happens to me. I get wronged all the time, man.
People analyzing it, and
They
they're
already-
like, "Oh, this
they've already
character
ruled, let's say that it's
is
Echo.
absolutely not Echo."
Well,
And it's
but
like,
okay,
yeah.
so the second they see that he has the pocket watch,
True.
everyone knows he's
Oh.
like the.
So the pocket watch is a big deal, like in the league games. Well, I noticed the pocket watch when he was fighting, only when he was fighting with Jinx, and I was like, yeah, he probably used that with Jinx when they were children to signify some game or something like that. But I didn't have previous knowledge about the pocket watch.
The boy who shattered time. I mean,
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
haha.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
how you?
I remember you showed me that we built like a special rig on Jinx. You can kind of control going her face from going looking more childish to like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You have that somewhere to pull up.
Yes. So when we first got the first rig of Jinx, the idea was to try to connect her somehow visually to what she was as a kid.
Mm.
Rounder face, bigger eyes, sadder look. We didn't want the typical like crazy girl laughing around like the Joker and just making no sense.
The same thing I was saying in my reactions, why they kept Jinx physical features different from what the game had is because they wanted it to represent what she was as a child. I said that, the same thing. I knew what these creators were thinking because the Jinx from the game and the Jinx from the arcade animation looks totally different. And when you're doing animation like this, you have to put realism before anything else.
We really wanted to make her feel like deranged and emotionally affected by what she went through as a kid.
I think we were a little bit worried about, when we get to the adult Jinx, that we just lose that, like, I don't know, that beautiful little soul that just just tries to prove to her older sister, like, hey, like, I can do this, like, believe in me.
This is so
I
incredible.
think we should never work on a project that doesn't offer us something personal to explore. I think for the story that we have, it's a story about family, it's a story about siblings that have a hard time forgiving each other. It's a world of technology kind of taking over and us feeling like we're losing control over it. I think that those are just things that we as people think about and care about, I think we want to also ask some questions that we think should be asked without necessarily giving you the answer, but at least asking like, hey.
A commenter did mention that. They said that Arcane presented you with like a whole set of situations, and like for instance, I was asking the question, how do you redeem Jinx? So in that way, you're basically saying like, they're giving you the question like, how do you redeem Jinx, but not giving you the answer. So it's like you to figure it out or for you to just allow it to be, which I think is just storytelling.
Does a person, like Jinx, deserve a second chance? Can a monster ever be forgiven? I don't know. If you
Yo,
can figure out like what is something that if you love it, a lot of people would love it, that's where you really should go hard. And I think that's what we tried with Arcane, We'll see, but I think it has potential.
I feel there's like 200 planes flying over my head right now. I don't understand why. Ah!
How you doing, bud? The skinks. I've had them for 23
Oh.
years now. I got them when I was 15 and definitely old enough to make that kind of commitment.
I like this creator right there.
the thing when you work on story is that, just generally speaking, it never stops. I feel like I just have voices in my head that argue a lot, and every now and again something they say makes sense, and then you write it down. That's basically
That's
how the characters happen.
I think that's how it is for a lot of creators, whereby I do a lot of writing and like short stories, poems, poetry, these kind of things, right? So it's like it's always something. You have different voices trying to commit to a story, trying to give you ideas, and sometimes you just hit the jackpot with one of them, and it's an amazing feeling. So when I see these storytellers, writers behind the scene expressing their creative process, I'm just always so amazed. One day I plan to create a Patreon where I could produce or put these stories out there. Right now I'm just such a small creator that it's not very possible for me, but hopefully with my reactions on YouTube, hopefully some of you guys will notice, hey, she's actually pretty cool after all, let's subscribe to her channel. So maybe I could reach that 1,000 mark, and I think when I do, I'll want to create a Patreon whereby I could do these kind of things. Maybe one day I would be able to create an animation or a story or a film. That's dreams right now, but you know.
These are obviously League of Legends characters mostly. I was original creative on like Riven up there and Ahri and
wow, I've seen so many of these in some of the cinematic videos I've reacted to already.
Lee Sin. And there's just, I don't know, that guy I thought was cool.
So I did go to school for writing. You know, I went out to LA. One of the things that I stumbled upon was a truly bare bones, desperate sounding Craigslist post for a video game startup. My first and consistent reaction to that was this company has no chance.
I started playing beta, and I found, the job offering to work in customer support at Riot on Craigslist, which led me to be interviewed by Alex.
Yep. For the record.
I think League was just really fun because it felt like there was kind of like the fingerprint of the people who made the game was so palpable when you played it, because the characters were so quirky, they were so different. You could just kind of tell people were just enjoying making these characters.
Early Champ concept meetings were so fun. We only had the one conference room, and it would just be everyone at the company who liked that, who was enthusiastic about it, just comes in, and you'd show up with something, right? You'd be like, here's this sweet art that I found, or here's this idea that I just jotted down. How do we turn that into a champion?
Wow.
I think the reason that we focused on Jinx was because, I don't know, Jinx just always had this spirit at the company. Katie D'Souza did this.
That design?
It wasn't a sketch, it was like a full concept of what she called Psycho Arsenal. It was not so different, honestly, from what Jinx looks like right now. You know, the long pigtails and just kind of like guns all over the place. I mean, everyone just fell in love with it immediately.
Vi and Jinx were characters that Alex and I always really liked.
Bravo, sis.
We worked on them together on, you know, the different kind of teams. Alex was working on like the characters themselves, like their creative, their voiceover lines with, you know, other writers.
She's such a loser, always ready to cry.
And I worked on the music and the cinematic on Jinx. So on the, I want to try something fun right now. So fun should have some kind of spike up, you know, like the screechy.
Okay, I'll try. Come on, shoot faster, just a little bit of energy. I wanna try something fun right now. I guess I'll give up on that.
Let's see what Papa thinks. If you have not seen my Get Jinx reaction, check it out, okay? I really and thoroughly enjoyed that song.
And you know, when Christian made Get Jinxed, that was, you know, the most storytelling I think we'd seen in a video at that point.
Arcane started when Alex and I sat down together and were thinking what the devil we should be doing next.
Riot in general kind of struggled to put out like long-form narrative content. Our goal was to have deeper storytelling, right? To not just do video game action. Or as we at the company tend to call it, fight porn. I don't know if we call it that anymore, but that's what it always was.
I just always had this sense of obligation to the players. You know, it just felt like we created these characters, and the players answered us by spending so much time with them and loving them, and it just felt like they deserved to have better stories.
Whenever Jinx kills someone, she actually gets kind of like amped up. If basically the premise is
It
like,
would be nice to find some kind of thread, some sort of like emotional question thread.
We were just kind of talking, you know, like, man, like how fun it would be to make something that's a bit bigger, you know, and the animation space, and the story space, and to kind of embrace all these different strengths that the team had developed over the years. Animation, music,
every child. Sounds dumb.
building characters, stories, and just go deep on it. We had this animation studio in Paris. We work with
Yeah, so for this, right, I thought it was actually like Riot Games who were producing the animation, but I was told that it was this company, Forte, what is it called?
and just go deep on it. We had this amazing partner in Fortiche.
Fortiche, yes. Fortiche animated the Arcane series, which I think they did such a wonderful job
Animation
with.
studio in Paris. We worked with them on the Jinx music video, on the Imagine Dragons music video from Warriors.
Look at that!
They just always
Look
had
at the
this like,
picture to the left. Is that Jinx? Oh, that's insane.
X factor of like these beautiful visuals. It's super artistic and everything. It just kind of always clicked, you know. I always thought that if there's any superpower that we had in the beginning to make Arcane a thing, it was whether or not we could really unleash the potential of Fortiche.
Mm-hmm. Paris. Patty! Okay.
Le
Imagine.
problème, c'est de finir après avec un shot final où
Oh,
Rémi
speaking
qui serait
French.
beaucoup trop à gauche et lui qui serait beaucoup trop à droite. Quoi.
The Buddha.
The
Is the
Buddha.
yes man of the company. He's saying yes to everything. It's a good idea. Yes, it is. Can I do it? Yes, you can.
We do a mix of 2D and 3D because the 2D FX are done in 12 images by second, then and the animation it's
I love what they did with this this guy here. How they darkened the environment and they just used like the front light here to just give him a little thing, darken out the sides, kind of mysterious. Digging it.
it's 24 like on the movie. So you have a mix of style, geek with dirty.
Fortiche
Yes.
founder.
C'est des mots mentir. Typiquement, moi je suis pas fan de la 3D pure et je trouve le style très intéressant.
Hey, let me turn on my
C'est plusieurs raisons.
This is so incredible, man. Wow.
Oui, we paint.
So let's say you have like a character were smoking a cigarette. Instead of having like a 3D smoke being simulated by 3D tools, it's actually 2D drawn, frame by frame, and gets this almost cartoony effect.
I noticed that too. Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I start to do this 2D mix and 3D since 20 years.
On est en train de m'attraper.
Is that some of the earlier
New way
works?
to do animation. It's not anime, it's not full CG, it's a mix of
2D and 3D.
of everything.
Are you feeling good about it?
It's an interview right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm not in the good mood.
Alright.
I met Arnaud in a party. Arnaud was doing fun, cool music video with no money.
Je faisais de l'animation, mais c'était tout le temps un peu expérimental. En mix média,
Oh,
en stop
wow.
motion, mais souvent avec une grosse partie quand même live action.
Cheers. That's what. Maybe another day.
A little bit drunk, maybe. It's gonna be easier.
I met Pascal, he was the best guy for doing character in Paris.
When I was a kid, my dream was to make comic books or work on, for Marvel and stuff like that. I like characters. I like how you can bring personality and bring story.
I think back then I just found these tests that they would do where you go like, man, like, this looks different. This doesn't look like the typical expensive Hollywood animation production. This looks very French.
I think he liked the mood because it was more adult, more lighting with flares and haze and something more like a live action movie.
Fortiche from the very unique approach to camera, making you feel like there's a person filming whatever's happening. There was an imperfection that could only be human in how it moved and how it felt. To be fair, the first answer when I went to the right leadership was like, I think we should make a TV show about our characters that is the highest budget ever spent on an animated series. It's gonna be great. First answer was, no, get out of the office.
That was like a, oh crap, like.
Riot Game founders. Wow, there's so many people a part of this team making this process and producing this animation. To know that a production like this took on so many different people, so many different talents to produce something so amazing, right? Sometimes when we see the end credits, we see who did this, who did that, but a lot of us don't take the time to read it. We don't take the time to acknowledge it. But to see they actually did something like this, it's kind of like a documentary, I would say, whereby they went behind the process and highlight and show you everything. Amazing. This is amazing.
Christian has showed up with those like bold ideas and bold asks before, but this one was such a leap from sort of music video to like full animated show. It's so unbelievably daunting. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, how am I going to talk Christian out of this? Like, how am I going to help him realize that like we're jumping the shark here?
And then I came back and said, okay, give me like $2,000. They're like, okay, fine. And so we just started, doing some concept art. I was like, okay, this looks really cool, right? Yeah, this looks pretty cool. I thought it was a great idea.
but I also knew how difficult it was to pull something like this off. We have something called the video game curse, which is very few games have adapted into film and television well.
One of the things that's really true that I think every creative can relate to is a lot of great creative ideas, they're fragile.
I love how they're just, you see how it's moving, the when he speaks the screen is slightly moving, like that's pretty cool.
And an idea and a vision, and they haven't been fleshed out necessarily.
Look, he was a little bit more
rotating around him.
some 3D models and everything, like $5,000. They're like, okay. And
I don't remember getting any of this money.
anyway, now to linger on this very unimportant
$2.
Alright, this is our first behind the scenes in the writer's room. Alex, what year is it?
1922.
While we were developing the story, we also started working with Fortiche on these little spikes, you know, of like, hey, what would it look like if Vi was just in her apartment in Piltover, and she's like venting about how her little sister, you know, is just always messing. So it was just a test of like, hey, like, can we even do animation where acting feels good?
All you had to do was run, Powder. Didn't we spend a bunch of time preparing you for this? You and I?
In the back of my mind, I was going, I kind of hope this loses steam because this is so unbelievably ambitious. Like, I don't know how in the world we're gonna pull this off.
That's when I said, okay, could you give me like, it was like $65,000 or so?
That's a lot of money.
This fight scene, it was sort of this animation test with Jace and Vi on a rooftop.
Actually have not reacted to this yet.
It was so sick, just in terms of how the characters were expressed and how they came to life.
Whoa, Jace looks completely different from Arkane. Vi does too. Her hair is like lighter pink, and she looks very smaller.
We need more of this.
Someone was saying that Jace could beat, well, Jace beat Vi in the games. I said I really don't know anything about that, but based on the reality of Arkane, Jace has little experience. So Vi, who has been doing this for quite some time, would be able to beat him in that scenario there. But looking at this, I find it very interesting.
I think that was...
In here, he looks like a total different guy with so much experience, and Vi, even her structure, her frame is smaller, so pretty interesting.
The time when I think they realized that I'm probably serious about this project. I said to them, well, I mean, you have concept art now for characters, for environments, you have 3D models, you have animation tests, you have material that we've had developed for the pilot. And I was like, are we gonna do this or not?
Oh.
I sort of think about it as like, oftentimes not knowing what we're getting into was an advantage, because I think if we did know, we would have said, there's no way.
I mean, animation tests, it was beautiful, right? But it was just a small snippet of what the full series would be, and there were so many questions about like, well, what is the full story?
To me, the stakes are really high because we want to be respectful of players' time and trust. I'd for sure much rather not do a show than releasing something that's just okay.
I don't know if anyone among Riot's leadership necessarily thought that we would definitely be able to do it, but I think they all understood that we just had to try.
All of these sketches and the concepts that they've been working on, it just shows how hard these people have been working on this. Again, amazed, truly amazed.
You just kind of have to, at some point, make that bet, you know, otherwise...
This is like the tennis plane that flew over my head, really and truly. It doesn't stop.
It's only gonna be ever a theory.
Fortiche was 5 people. So we had to build a studio of now 200, 250, 300 people, which is like, how do you build an animation studio?
You know, we're a game company. How do you do that? At that point, Fortiche had produced 2, 3, 4-minute music videos.
Le pari pour Christian et Elliot, c'était on était capable de sortir 5 heures, 6 heures de films. Et non plus, on ne savait pas.
When I met Christian, I remember him talking about the character arcs and what's gonna happen in that episode, and you know, I've already that in mind, and it's gonna be like so emotional. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. We haven't even started the first minute of the show. I don't think he was realizing what he was getting into, but I think he was a fool. But the excitement he had when he was talking about the show made the difference to me.
Even when there are a lot of question marks and obvious concerns, and on paper it's not supposed to work because, you know, the experience isn't there, the resume isn't there, like that's precisely when it's worth jumping into the deep end of the pool and learning how to swim.
Yes, man.
Pendant le test que finalement quand on a commencé à faire le pilote, c'est là où on a pu mettre tout ce qu'on avait un peu en nous, toutes nos références, où il y a eu ce côté, ouais, enfin le côté geek, grâce à Christian et la période qu'on a vu qui nous laissait les clés.
Ah, yes, episode 1 scene. Truly, non-stop animators to join the project. They explained from a team of 30 people they had. I'm getting goosebumps. Ten months for the first episode? Wow. 10 months.
Basically, we had the pilot, you know, wrapped up more or less, and now was the time to start working on the rest of the first season.
We had an entire arc for the first season, I mean, filled with moments, you know, lots of art, lots of exploration, different locations, different characters, and we were already feeling the pressure of the sort of pipeline rolling.
These episodes take a tremendous amount of time to animate, and once the episode is in various stages of animation, changes are possible, but any change is tremendously disruptive in terms of the amount of time and resources it takes to sort of, so you're kind of locked in.
So yeah, at some point, there was a meeting on my calendar, and I went to Brand's office, and there was like a bunch of people in there.
He basically, he called me and told me like, hey, you know, just talk to Brandon and like everyone.
It was basically like an intervention meeting.
And by the way, that's what we do for everything, even in game. If we're like on the cusp of launching and we think it's not right, like we'll stop, we'll hold, we'll pivot, we'll cancel.
Perhaps it's time I cut my losses.
I mean, I think with everything creatively, you know, you're always kind of waiting for that hammer to fall. We wanted to make sure the story that players got lived up to their expectations. If we couldn't do that, then we shouldn't do that.
The consensus was, you don't have the story yet, and it's not gonna work, you know?
Wait, is that it? Ah, that's part 1. You know, I I actually, as somebody planning to get into filmmaking and storytelling, story writing, these kind of things, now every time I see the ending credits, I have to read it, because you don't know the amount of effort that these people put into their work. It is just so, it's such a great thing to just give them what's due, you know, that little, give them it, you know, read their names out loud. So to honor the Arcane team, we're just gonna go through the credits. So for production managers, we have Mako Hironaka, Uraraka Ito. In order of appearance, showrunner, creator and writer Christian Link, modeling artist Ladicia There's so many people, man. Look at the names just flowing under here. Makeup artist, grip driver, dolly grip, key grip, electric. Oh, look at them, camera assistants, assistant, projectionist. Wow, there's even that. Alright guys, that is my reaction for Arcane Bridging the Rift Part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed that because that was so educational for me. I had fun learning about the writing process, about the animation process. Just thoroughly enjoyed learning about the processes behind the Arcane series. I will be watching Arcane Part 2 at a later date. I hope you guys stick around for that. As I said, Arcane, truly amazing. It's so amazing to me that it took them 10 months to produce the pilot. And, you know, for this part 1, of course I didn't think everything would go smoothly, but to know that they had to put in so much work into this animation, well, I already knew it, but it's still so mind-blowing to me, you know? The ending, where they said the storyline wasn't good enough, that can hurt a writer really badly. It really can, because you know, like, you're so excited for the series, and for somebody to tell you that, hey, we don't think the storyline is ready yet, it really pushes you to either like an emotional breakdown, or it pushes you to do better. And in Christian's case, he came through with this Arcane storyline. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel. We're trying to get to 300 subs. That would mean so much to me. As I said, there are so many things that I want to do with this channel, and you subscribing to my channel will allow me to do those things and create content that would be, you know, valuable to you all. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time.